Why, hello there, Rax kindergartners. So, we have been learning about our community and our community helpers recently. So, before we get into the rest of our lesson, let's just quickly review what the three types of communities are. There are three types of communities. There are urban communities. Those are going to be communities like Rochester. They have a lot of big, tall buildings that are all very close together. There's a lot of traffic and there's lots and lots of people. The third type of community is we'll skip over here first. The next type of community is a rural community that's going to be far out in the countryside, really far away from the city. There's going to be lots and lots of space between houses. There's not going to be as many resources, so sometimes towns and rural communities need to share. And you might also see some things like farms out in a rural community, but there's also lots of people that live in a rural community that don't necessarily work on farms. And then our third option is going to be in between our urban and our rural communities, and that's going to be a suburban community. So somewhere between urban and rural, that's where you're going to see houses that have usually some pretty big yards, but not quite as big as what you would see in a rural community. Um, and the houses are often in neighborhoods, so you can see your neighbors, but they're not as close together as you would get in an urban community. There is some traffic, but not as much as you would see in a city. We've also been talking about community helpers, and all three types of communities have those kinds of community helpers. And they might look a little bit different depending on which type of community you're in. But like firefighters, for example, every community has firefighters. But if you are in a rural community, what might happen is that multiple towns might combine their resources and share one fire department. Where if you look in the city of Rochester, for example, there are multiple different fire stations throughout the city. Now, today, we're going to be starting to learn about the United States, which is just an extension of our community, really. And our essential question for today is, what makes America America? Let's think about that. What makes America America? Hmm. Whisper your answer just before we even get into the lesson. Whisper what you think the answer might be to somebody near you. Whisper what you think your answer might be to me. This is interesting to think about, right? So we're going to read a book today. Let me just share my screen with you. There we go. We are going to read a book today where we're going to start talking about the United States and learning about some of the symbols we have, as well as try to answer our essential question today. United States of America. Hey, I'm Talia. Do you know what I'm holding? Yes, the flag of the United States of America. Isn't it beautiful? It's just one of the many symbols that bring Americans pride. America is a beautiful country. You may have seen a lot of flags going around yesterday for Memorial Day. Memorial Day is a day when we honor soldiers who gave up their lives so that we could live in freedom and have the life that we have. Did you know that we all live in America? There are 50 different states that are all part of America. Which state do you live in? Do you know what state we live in? We live in the state of New York. No matter which state you live in, you probably know the Pledge of Allegiance. We say the pledge every morning while we place our right hand over our hearts and face the flag. Now, this is something that we'll do in school, but it's not usually something people just do like by themselves at their house. And it's not something that most grown-ups do at work either. So a pledge is going to be a promise, and allegiance means that you are going to strongly support a person or country. So basically, you're promising to support the United States and to try to be the very best American that you can be. The United States flag is made up of 13 stripes. So these are the red and white stripes. There's 13 of them and 50 stars. The 50 stars symbolize or represent the 50 states. And the stripes represent the original 13 colonies, which you will learn more about in 5th grade, especially a little bit in 3rd and 4th too. Did you know that the flag was not always 13 stripes and 50 stars? When the United States was first formed, the flag was made by Betsy Ross and had 13 stars in a circular pattern and 13 red and white stripes. Wow, it has changed a lot. Now, what happens is that the United States used to only have 13 states. So we only had 13 stars on the flag. But as our country grew, we got more states, and so we had to keep adding stars to the flag until we got up to the 50 we have today. Like I said, there are many other symbols that bring pride to Americans. One is the Statue of Liberty. It is beautiful. France gave it to us a long time ago as a gift. You can see the Statue of Liberty in New York and down in New York City. This is not very close to where we live, but it is still part of our state. To many, it is a sign of freedom and democracy. Democracy is a belief that all people are equal and should be treated equally. It also means that every person should have a say in their government and what their government does, ideally. The statue is 151 feet tall. That is so big. Could you imagine if you knew something that was 151 feet tall and is made of copper? Copper is usually orange, but because this is in a harbor near the ocean, the water and the salt turned the copper from orange to this like greenish color that we see now. Here is the White House. Do you know do you know who lives here? Who lives here? Oh, let me scroll down a little bit more. Every president has lived here except for George Washington. That's because he was building it and it just wasn't done. But so every president we've had, except for our first president, lived in the White House. This is also where they have a lot of this is where the Oval Office is. A lot of the time, not all the time, but many of the times that you see the president giving updates or speeches, it's usually from a room in the White House. Do you know what kind of bird this is? That's right. It is a bald eagle. The bald eagle is the national bird. The eagle is even shown on our national seal. A seal is a symbol that we put on, mostly on important papers. Many see strength and beauty when they see a bald eagle fly. We have some at the Seneca Park Zoo. Once we open back up, maybe you guys could go check them out. Look at this. Those were all power words. Let's keep reading. These 4 faces belong to 4 of our previous presidents. It is called Mount Rushmore. It is in South Dakota. This is George Washington, Thomas Jefferson, Theodore Roosevelt, also called Teddy Roosevelt, and Abraham Lincoln. Look at this bell. It is really big and old, and it is in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. It is called the Liberty Bell. The bell is a symbol of liberty or freedom. Stories that this bell was rung, Stories say that this bell was rung in 1776 on July 8th to celebrate the signing of the Declaration of Independence. Look closely and you will see the crack. Well, talking about the many American symbols was fun, but my mom just got home. She is an American soldier in the military. Bye. So we learned about a lot of American symbols. And so our essential question is what makes America is either what makes America America or what makes an American American. Gonna be honest, I forgot which one I said. But still, after reading that book, can you answer our essential question for today? If not, that's okay because we're going to spend today, tomorrow, and our 2 lessons next week learning all about what makes America America. For your assignment today in the class dojo, please share a video of you explaining at least 2 of our American symbols, whether it is and one thing about them. So you can just say, I'm Miss Phelps and I learned about the White House and the American flag. You should say something more like, I'm Miss Phelps and I learned about the White House. The president lives there. And I learned about the American flag. It has 50 stars for 50 states. So 2 symbols and 1 thing about each of those symbols. And then please send a video in your class dojo. It has been wonderful learning with you today, and I can't wait to do this all again in our next lesson. Have a great